your version of the FDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, Health Canada. I love it. So they cover cannabis and everything too?
Yeah. So they would cover like the tobacco and make sure that those lounges are all sanctioned and everything. And so they just looked at weed like tobacco, and we're like, well, this is all illegal. Like you can't have people coming in and just hotboxing or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, sure, it's not good for you, but it's not tobacco level.
Yeah.
like,
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
It is interesting to see that they'd cut down the lounges because they're trying to do that in California where they have more lounges. And that's why the underground scenes are still so fun because they're just like, well, fuck, just get everyone stoned, have a good show, and then fine.
Yeah. It's the way to do it.
Good?
Good.
All right. Andrew Packer?
Nailed it.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm always so fucking worried that I fucking forgot Lee's last name and it's 3 fucking words. Letters? 3 letters. There we go. Maybe I shouldn't have smoked before we got on this phone. All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of To Be Frank. My name is Frank Castillo. I'm here with Josh Cabaza. What up?
How you doing?
A lot of fun last night in the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good times. And we drank afterwards.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
I'm suffering from it today.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I woke up with the worst cotton mouth and I was fucking a little hungover. It was rough. I literally looked at you in the bar and I was like, it's 2:30 in the morning. I was like, we have 2 things to do tomorrow. We got to get the fuck out of here. And then I just left. Ugh, it was fun. Today's guest, very funny. I've seen you all across town. I love your stand-up. It's been fun watching you go up. And it's also been fun.
Man.
Oh, thanks.
Mutual.
It's been fun like meeting everybody since coming to house. But nice round of applause for Andrew Packer.
Yeah.
Nice round of applause for Andrew Packer.
Hey.
Turned into a Joy Division concert for 2 seconds.
I gave you a robot voice, my bad.
Hilarious. We were talking about weed in Canada. So you don't smoke weed on the podcast, obviously, but you do smoke weed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just dialed it back a lot since in past years I used to smoke like very often, every day, usually, but now it's more so. Yeah, I don't do it when I need to be required to speak.
Is it?
Unless I'm at a show where everyone is,
yeah.
in which case it's kind of fun. But
Yeah. Are you like a flower? Do you do concentrates? Do you use edibles?
I'm a flower, simple flower, like just a nice joint, just a pin thin joint.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed Canadians do tend to roll very pin thin joints.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like
It's because our weed's good.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
I know you guys are California, but like we're talking BC, where they learned how to do it for years. Backcountry, real shit.
Do you feel since it became legal that the weed has gotten better or it's gotten worse in Canada?
I'd say depends on what you're ranking it on, but more or less, I think it's just great. Yeah, but yeah, certain brands are definitely better, but the accessibility is just so nice.
Yeah.
Like I just did this like crazy travel day I was telling you about just before we started, and it was just so nice to right outside my hotel. There's a dispensary right there, so I buy 10 milligrams of edibles, and then on my 6 a.m. flight, I have like 3 of them, and I'm just like, 3 of 2 milligrams each. Like I had like 6 milligrams of that, and just knocked out for the 6 hours flying back. So it just like it's useful. Too. I love how convenient it is.
Yeah, and BC Bud has always been like, I mean, it's been legendary. Even in California, as like a teenager smoking weed, they'd always talk about Canada weed and all the different genetics and everything that's come out of it. But you said backcountry, so these are people like
backcountry, because these guys would like make it. Because in British Columbia, you have these forests and just so many different rainforest areas that you just can't even get to them by car. Some of them you can only fly into them. So they used to have all these little areas that police couldn't really get to. So they would grow it in those places and just perfect soil for it. And actually, my uncle used to be one of the RCMP, like cracking down on them. RCMP is like our feds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, BC is known for it.
Whoa, wow, that's fun. Yeah, they would always do guerrilla grows, which is just like, you go find somewhere in the woods, you start growing, and then you just come back and hope no one finds it.
Exactly.
That's wild. I've always wanted to go to Canada to try out the weed and the comedy. Big fan of both. I've heard a lot of good things, and also everyone from Canada I've met has always been very funny.
Mm-hmm. It's because it's so hard to get down to America as a Canadian.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
What scene did you come up in Canada?
I came up in Toronto, and I spent about 5 years there, moved to Vancouver, spent another year and a half or so there. So those are, and then when pandemic, I went out abroad, Asia, just before the pandemic, did a whole thing there, and then back to Toronto. So
okay.
mostly Toronto is my spot.
So any crazy open micers that you remember or that stand out?
Oh, so many. Are you kidding?
That
Some
is
of them still pop up. You know, it's been like 10 years, and you're like, yo, and he's like, yeah, just trying to get back into it, you know. You know, I got the itch again. It's just, it comes to you, you know.
Dude, there's so many of those in LA, and we've seen them, and there's legendary ones. Some of them are very nice, some are very cool. There was a lady it was called the Burrito Lady Pam, was in Los Angeles. She was a lady that just sold burritos, and then she found out a bunch of people congregated at just a mic. It was at the store, and then she like kind of like walked up and realized like, oh, there's a bunch of people that are always here weekly that sign up. And then she would come, she'd just kind of like sell burritos, and then she was just kind of like, well, if I sign up, I'll get up on stage and I could just at least tell everyone about my burritos that I'm selling. Dog, it was the funniest shit. She went up like third or fourth, had an okay set, and it was just one of those things that like we all just thought she was just like a bad comic trying comedy. So we all just didn't expect the ending, which was her just being like, all right, well, I'm selling burritos outside. My name's Burrito Lady Pam, blah, blah, blah. You know, I got carne asada, blah, blah. And she starts listing off all the burritos, and we're like, what the fuck?
She's doing a merch pitch.
Dude, it was the fucking funniest. And then everyone bought burritos from her.
Yeah, they did.
And
Because
they
that's
were-
the market.
Yeah.
Usually you try to sell anything to comedians, you're like, buddy, they have no money, but they are burrito purchasers.
Absolutely. They're like, food for $2? That's all I have. Dude, she sold so many burritos. We saw her for about a while, and then I think she moved on.
She got a better comedy scene.
Yeah,
She saw a bigger open mic. She's like, oh, what am I wasting my time with?
she's like, I'm going to Flappers. Yeah. And who did you? Is there like a legendary?
There
one?
is one who I like, especially. He's coast to coast. Got lore around him. Very, very funny. Very funny. But yeah, open mic. His name. He goes by E.T. Starchild. I know it's such a good name, and the picture like a shorter emo kid, like emo haircut, and then he carries around an accordion with him, and he'll do sometimes very offensive, sometimes just really out there jokes while playing the accordion at open mics, and what a legend that man is.
I swear to God, we might know the same guy. Are you sure? He might have went by French
If he's
accent.
gone international, that's insane.
There was a guy who came to the store. His name was French Accent. He ended up getting on, I think, America's Got Talent. He was actually a really funny one-liner comic. And then he went super crazy conservative right-wing, like to the point where it was like just like wild deep state stuff, like
Wow,
just
no,
crazy.
not this guy, not this guy.
No, but this guy.
This is the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He was
Is
actually.
it? Wait. Is it a real eye patch, or is it like he just wears it for the?
He
look?
just wears it for the look.
I love that. He saw the eye patch. He goes, "Yeah, I know who I am."
By the way, so fucking funny. He was really funny, and then he just went crazy, and I was like,
man. There's
Well, I don't think he thinks he went crazy, but it was definitely it was wild.
yeah. You see that happen. It's sad.
Yeah. God, they were so funny. There was another guy named Addleston Fitzgerald the Fourth. He was like I have a PhD, I have a doctorate. I truly still don't know if it was a bit or if he was just crazy. And that's how fucking like deep and committed. And usually I can tell. Usually you can tell after a while, like
Yeah.
you see him coming out of the bathroom, they're like changing, and you're like, oh, okay, you're like a regular person. But it was one of those things where like there'd be moments where I could tell I'm the only one that can like see him, or like I'd be paying, like, you know, I'd like you think he's alone, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like signing up for the like potlucks, or you're sitting there in like the back bar and you can kind of like see out the door and you just see him by himself. He was always just being goofy. Like, you ever see someone like deliver to themselves? You know what I mean? Like they're just making a joke to themselves, right?
Yeah,
and you're just
yeah.
like, oh, you're just always on. Or like you're just like, I don't know if you know someone's watching you, but you're just being funny. It was so weird. But he would go up on open mics and he would just like rant and just kind of like do weird shit, and it would be funny, and you don't know why. See if you can find him. Addleston Fitzgerald
I'm
III.
gonna butcher this.
What a name.
I know, dude. It was ridiculous.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah. Fitzgerald.
We need the third, not the
It's
first.
Addleston.
not the other.
Adlston.
ADLS.
Yeah, something like that. Oh man, we're all bad at this. Oh, right there.
This guy?
Oh, no, the
nice.
second one, right there.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. This bitch far. No, I don't know.
is this the guy?
Yep.
Nice. He's a prop comic too.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Are you?
You upgrading your settings?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, it was playing from my computer.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably gonna take it back tomorrow. Yeah, it's a briefcase. That was that joke, yo. Yeah. Hold on.
That's the
Hey,
whole
yo, like my
briefcase bit.
Jetfighter. Yo, I made this Jetfighter using paper, yo. Yeah, it was the best decision because this paper is a flyer. Yo,
This guy would crush in the UK.
no,
They would love it. They'd be like, "Who is this genius?"
seriously, it was literally just shit like that, and it was this
The
weird thing.
bow
Of,
tie, the shirt. I mean, it's the full package.
it's real. Yeah, and he would come, and the way he would sign up for open mics, he had a stamp made with his name.
okay.
So he would show up to the open mic, the paper would be there, everyone would be signing with pen, and then he'd stamp
That's a good
and then
flex.
stamp at the top. So it'd be like 1 through 10, blah blah blah, and then above number 1 would just be Addleston Fitzgerald. It was the funniest shit. And then there was times where like everyone would sign up, and then I can't remember if it was Luke or someone, but they would they were just patty, so they would like fucking make it all big so he couldn't like stamp anywhere.
Yeah.
And then finally like flipped the page and just stamped on the back of it. It was just like he was just a ridiculous character.
Wow.
Someone wrote an article about him. It was just ridiculous. Where it was just kind of like I truly don't know if this man's a genius or just a crazy guy.
Both.
I love that about stand up, how it keeps you guessing. You never really
Yeah.
know. I was doing this. There's a show. Is a show in Toronto. It happens Tuesdays at 11, and it's called the Bucket Show. It's just it's a bucket show where you just pull these random names out. And I was doing the panel on it, and this guy came out who is he's like an old road dog, like so old that he doesn't really do it anymore. But he's got like a history. His name's like Jack Norman, and he his fingers, I don't know what they're messed up from, but they're like they almost look like they were like cut off from the mob or something. I'm just guessing here because I don't know this guy's lore, but he's lived a crazy life. Very funny dude, but kind of went through like all these ups and downs, drugs, all that stuff. Anyways, he is a little bit like off the, you never know what you're going to get from Jack. And he starts going on this rant on the Bucket Show where you have 5 minutes and he's just going and he's killing. And I'm so happy because it's like you're seeing this guy just back in it, just killing. And then he starts to lose the crowd, but he ramps up his yelling to where he's like, "You're fucking," he's going on about, because we had these, there was this big story that happened a few months ago about Indian people shitting on the beach. I don't know if that got down here, but Wasaga Beach is our beautiful beach, and apparently there were some Indian people shitting on it. So he was doing a bit about that, and they're like, "They're shitting on the beach, they're shitting." And in the middle of this hysterical rant, he's like, "Man, I'm shitting." He looks over at me, he's like, how much time I got left? And like 1 minute, he's like, "Oh, okay. They're shit." It's like so insane, but then very concerned of like not running the light.
Yeah.
Oh, just beautiful.
Dude, I remember, so we run me and Bruce Gray at the Comedy Store. We run a show called The Set of the Night, Mike, and it's just an open mic, late night. Tickets are $5. Everyone goes up, we pull the names out of a bucket. Best set goes in front of the talent coordinator the next day on potluck, which is like, that's how you get in the store. It's a whole system, right? It's a fun show. A lot of people like sign up, like best of the best. It's real cool. Then you get like just kind of like random crazy people, right?
Is this the one where you have to buy a drink in order to put your name in?
They just changed that to that, yeah.
So brilliant. Whoever the genius behind the capitalistic mindset, the dudes who invented crypto came into the store and were like, "Listen, I know you think they don't have money, but this is how we do it."
So this is how, because this is what the reason was. So we were like, well, let's just do an open mic where it's just anyone can sign up, right? And then we did 2 buckets where it was the free bucket and then a bucket of people that paid tickets. So the problem with that is a lot of just crazy people sign up for a free show and an open mic. So we would just get crazy people. Like this is one of the people was just a homeless guy. Just went up.
especially in
Hollywood,
Hollywood, you're like, that's where they are.
Yeah. So one of the managers was like, we got to at least charge because then it'll just like at least filter out at least the homeless people. So that's kind of why. And but there had like one time we had just a homeless guy go up on stage and just like scream and shout, and like people kind of like laughed, and they were like, "Oh, that was wild and weird," and we were like, "That was a homeless guy." That was like, and like people would like leave outside, and he was out front like begging for money and being like, "Thanks for blah blah," and he was asleep on the bench like later down the street, and people were like, "Oh yeah, that was a homeless guy." So it was like, yeah, we got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And then one time we had a guy come, and he just had to have been someone's grandpa. And he just went up and he just started like rambling like an old man does at a CVS who like hasn't talked to anyone in a long time. And he just started rambling. And then all of a sudden, like, we all just agreed that this man just kind of needed someone to talk to. So we just didn't even light him. We just kind of let him go. And then like the guy in the back was like, "Should we light him?" We're just like, "Nah, let him go." And then everyone's kind of started realizing what was going on. And then everyone just started laughing and laughing and laughing. And then he just, by the end of it, like everyone's dying laughing, and he's just doesn't understand why he's crushing. And then we finally had to light him and get him off. And he was like, "All right, thanks." And then like he left and was like, that man in his mind had the best night of his life.
Yeah. In his mind, he's like, "Man, if I just did this 40 years ago, I would have been with the best of them."
Yeah. It is so wild to see. And it's fun to see like someone who's never done it before go up.
That is, oh man, I will always watch that. Because you're not watching somebody be a comedian. You're not watching somebody try to be a comedian. You're watching like an insurance broker do comedy. That's just so interesting.
100%.
The choices that they'll make. It's everyone approaches it in a totally different fashion with totally different levels of skill. And yeah, it's always fun to
It truly is one of my favorite things to watch. It's like watching a baby walk, because you're also seeing it, I think, in the purest form, because they still don't know any of the rules that'll kind of like hamper them or shape the way that they do stand-up or their art, because they don't know anything yet. And there's kind of a beauty in not knowing anything, because you're just trying to figure it out and just trying. And then there's this like weird like human element of just like trying to be naturally funny. Like, and that's also like, I don't know, it's just fun to watch. Like when you see someone who's never done it and they get their first laugh and they're like, oh, this is cool. And you're like, yeah, man, welcome to the fucking club. You're going to get your next one in 2 months, but we'll be here the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking fun. Have you seen anyone bomb like really bad?
Oh yeah. There's
my favorite stories.
There's one that so I just had my camera set up, so I actually have the footage of it. And sometimes sometimes I'll be hanging out with a few like comics. We'll be on the road or something, and I'll be like, "Do you want to see the best bomb ever?" And I will show them the video because it's so good. So for that reason, I'm gonna leave out where it was on the road, but essentially I'm doing this road gig, and I'm gonna change the name of the guy, but he went by one name, and so for instance, like it would just be like. Let's say Cookie Monster. That's the kind of name this guy had.
Oh, something ridiculous.
Just something really ridiculous for out of the zeitgeist. And so we're doing this road gig, and he, the owner of the venue, comes up to me and says, "Hey man, there's this guy. He's been killing it. He's really funny, local guy. A lot of guys are coming out to see him too. So like if you could just give him a spot, like that'd be cool." And we're like, we're like, whatever. Yeah, sure. And so then he shows up, and like leading into the show, we're there to eat beforehand. Just this guy, I don't think he took a breath of silence. He just talked the entire way leading in the show. I'm looking at like the guy I'm on tour with. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be rough. But we had no idea how rough it would be. Anyways, cut to the show beginning. The guy I'm on tour with goes up, Mark Anthony Synagoga, super funny guy, goes up, kills it. And then he brings up Cookie Monster, which already he's like, I can't believe I'm saying this name. This is so ridiculous, And this guy comes up, he's like a heavyset white guy. And he starts by going directly into Israel-Palestine. Starts
immediately
directly. And this is like, I guarantee you don't know who this is, but who the guy is, essentially.
They all have the same act.
Yeah.
It's very easy to follow.
It's very easy to follow.
So
when
easy to
it's
follow.
that bad, it's so easy to follow. And then he went into talking about somehow he like alluded to all women being like witches and made of, I don't know, and then ends on an F slur punchline. You're like, wow, bro. Like literally he was supposed to go up for we first told him, we're like, you're doing 5, and then he's like, cool, man, I have like 7 prepared, which is a wild move to pull when you're just a local guest on the show. Wild thing to say.
Crazy.
This literally, he left the stage after 4 minutes and 23 seconds, and it was the longest 4 minutes I've ever felt. It was, you know, when you're like behind a pillar, because it's the cringe of it is like too hard to watch.
Yeah, it's hitting you, and you're like,
man,
ugh.
yeah, that was the worst bomb I've seen in a long time.
Was it Kool-Aid?
Was it Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
What
The
do you-
guy's name.
No, it
Okay.
wasn't. Yeah,
That's
no.
so funny.
I know Kool-Aid. No, just like, oh, fat white guy. No, not Kool-Aid.
This guy,
Kool-Aid. A fat white guy named Kool-Aid? Hilarious.
yeah. This guy might have quit comedy after that.
Oh,
it was
wow.
that bad. And he worked at the bar underneath the venue. So I'm like, you got to see everybody after.
I'm not gonna say who it is, but I heard of a very, very pretty hilarious bomb from someone who God, I can't give too much information. But it is it's someone who tours, has a big following, and that's all I give it to you. But they got to I can't even they popped in. I got to be as vague as possible. They popped into our friend's show, and they went up and they just did their act, right? Which is it's like very 4chan conservative, which is like fine if you are that kind of guy. But in my eyes, just make it funny, and it's got to be like kind of like original or whatever. To me, it just kind of feels like everyone's like talking about the same thing, which is like fine. I get it, right? And it works here, it works like a few places. That's why he's got a big following. It's great. But it's like when you go back to clubs and you're like a mix of tourists and people, that's why it's so tough, because it's not just all your fans. Now you got to like appeal to everybody, right?
People just came to have a good time.
Yeah, 100%. So
So if you could make it a good time, that would be nice.
yeah. So of course they go up and just straight up start talking about Israel, Palestine, and I'm like, dog, all right, cool, man, whatever you want, bro. And they ended up getting fucking booed off stage. Oof. Yeah, like it was so bad that they switched to crowd work, and then they were like trying to do crowd work, and the person was just like, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you. And they were like, oh, what, you don't like freedom of speech? And it was like, no. You can say whatever you want. I just don't have to talk to you or respond to you back. And I don't want to.
I love that. Like literally someone freely speaking on stage, and then they go, what, you don't want, you're not okay with this? You're like, dude, you're doing the thing. And it's like, that's the reaction you got.
Yeah.
Like if you do the thing and then you get the reaction, like you're not allowed to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they
yeah.
always want to, oh, you guys are getting in the way. I can't say anything these days. You just said the thing, and then that made everyone feel like this, and now this is what we're all in.
Yeah, it's like read
So
the room and
you're
also try to
bad
figure out
at
how to.
this.
Yeah.
Like-
In this instance, you're bad.
Yeah.
But it's like in your own audience, sure, it's gonna crush, but it's also
Yeah.
like I always think of it as like a comedy IQ kind of thing, where it's like certain comedy clubs have a solid audience comedy IQ, right? Not everyone's fan base is the same kind of fan base. You know what I mean? Like some people are just like, yeah, they think throwing a piece of cheese on a baby is the funniest thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the funniest thing in the fucking world. I would go see that video played 1,000,000 times back to back. But it's also just like it's not all the same, right?
Like American cheese, like one of those
Yeah.
sticky ones that
Yeah,
you peel
yeah.
out of the,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
the gross
plastic,
fake
and
one,
then
yeah.
it hits and it sticks perfectly.
Yeah, and the baby's like, what the fuck?
The baby's just blind all of a sudden. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
So the
What?
guy, so he gets after that audience member says that, he goes, I think he called them all a bunch of fucking pussies and a bunch of like retards, and then everyone just started booing him, and then he was like, what do I do? And then he just like got off stage.
Damn.
Dude, it was fucking hilarious.
That's wild. Just watching someone dig a hole with no plans of getting out of it.
Yeah, that's the thing that I always kind of never really understood, where it was like, are you like, if the goal is to just blow the show up, like, you know, like what is the goal? Like if the goal is not to just make people laugh, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of those. I mean, it's an unfortunate people growing off of other acts who had these moments where they were really outspoken and everything. You know, coming out of like people that are really big fans of either. I find it either Patrice, Bill Hicks, and Carlin. The people that are like super heavy fans of them, which I love. All those are
absolutely.
incredible comedians, but they pull from things that they've said that I don't think really carries the full weight of the experience behind what's being said, if that makes sense.
no,
And then they
100%.
just pull and they're like, well, if the audience doesn't like me, I don't change. And it's like, well, like it's not necessarily, you're not changing who you are to make the energy better. You know, you can just be like have different gears to shift into and
Well, it's also
find
like
a way.
the requirement of the audience is just requiring you to be better.
Yeah.
That's all it is,
Fair.
right?
Yeah.
Where it's like if you want to, because I remember being yelled at by an older comic because I was trying to do these jokes and they just weren't working, and then they didn't like yell at me, but they pulled me aside and were just like gave me an older comic talking to a younger comic kind of thing, and they literally were just like, "You're too young in this to tackle these subjects." They're like, "That's all it is. You just don't know how to do it yet. You're just you're trying to tackle a level 10 subject and you're fucking level 1."
I know. I had a comic do a similar thing with me, like pulled me aside and we were talking about it. Guy Brian O'Gorman, very funny guy from Toronto. He said he's like, it's like trying to do a triple axle backflip when you don't know how to do a kickflip.
100%.
It's like figure out this level and then work up there. But when you're new, yeah, you'll bring up a topic where you're like, this made me laugh, and you just throw it out there and you just keep throwing things out there without understanding the gravity of where you're pulling everybody's thought.
Yeah.
And then you're just stuck in this muck and you're like, I have no idea how to get people out of this.
100%. Because the other tough thing is there is so many tough subjects. Some people think it's funny. Some people, it's a reality for them. So it is tough to try to juggle all those things. So like when people do get upset at a joke I tell, I don't ever like get mad at them. I'm always just like, fuck. You know, I do feel bad because I don't want people to get upset because it is all just me just trying to fuck around and joke.
Yeah.
And then there are some times where it's like, oh yeah, you're just getting upset for no reason. But I feel like, you know, as a comic, it's like you can usually tell pretty much, right? And then it's like it falls down to you as like a comic is like, oh, now am I just a good person? Like, how am I going to let this affect me? How am I going to react to this? You know, am I going to be like, fuck you, you're not a part of it? Or you're like, all right, you know, maybe there's a place of understanding I should come from.
Yeah, because the audience is constantly judging how you're interacting with individual pieces of the audience too. So if you react to somebody so poorly, then they turn on you and then you've lost the entire crowd. And if you're not being aware of the triangular conversation you're having the entire time, then yeah, it goes bad.
Have there any bad ones you've gone through?
Oh, yeah, I mean, a student of the game doesn't just crush it the whole way through.
I remember fucking, dude, God, I remember bombing so hard once in like a belly room show and then just being like, ugh, God, this sucks. This can't get any worse. And then I remember locking eyes with, who was the lady on Grey's Anatomy, the Asian lady, the very funny and very, very talented actress?
I think I can picture who
I
you're
want to
talking
say
about,
Karen O, but I think that's the lead singer of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Michelle O? Michelle O?
That sounds right.
I feel like it's Michelle O.
feels right.
Michelle feels right.
Yeah.
It was ER, right?
No, I think it was Grey's Anatomy.
Somebody's just screaming it in their car right now.
Yeah, they're like, it's fucking.
How do you not know? How do you not know?
Yeah, Sandra Oh. Fuck.
Sandra Oh.
Yeah, Sandra Oh. I just remember bombing so hard, and then I look and I lock eyes with Sandra Oh, and she's just got this sad face on her look like you get him next time. And I was like, oh, my mom loves Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. It's too bad you didn't have like the moment to be like, Sandra, could you save this set?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I didn't have the wherewithal to be like, oh, come on, yeah.
Revive it.
Please. Yeah, no, do you have anyone stand out?
I mean, yeah, I've got a couple. I mean, one of them that I often still think about is this place called Wetaskiwin in Alberta. It's a really small town between Red Deer and Edmonton in Alberta in Canada. And it's so small, we should have never had a show there. But the owner wanted to have me out, so I came and I showed up, and there was only like 30 people in the room. 30, but like you probably could have fit like 400 in there. Okay, like we're talking massive bar, enough people that it probably could have fit the whole city. That's how small this place was. And then the bar massive, and there was a lady that was sitting at the bar named Faye, who had to be pushing her early 80s. Already, I saw a full bottle of wine sitting next to her, empty, right? Second bottle of wine there. She's just riding it till the wheels come off. And when I was headlining, so I was doing my 40 minutes, and it's one of my first headlines early on the road, and she just heckled me the entire time.
Oh.
Just
He kind of looks like a chicken.
Just yell.
Was she crushing?
Crushing.
Oh,
Yeah, everyone loves
yeah.
Faye. I started making fun of Faye. They're like, hey, Faye has the best pierogies in town. Maybe all of Alberta. And I was like, is that true? And she's like, well, I know my way around a pierogi. And yeah, it was. And then she just kept yelling, oh, well, whatever. She'd say that after I'm doing a setup. Whatever. I'm going for the punchline. Skyling. Whatever. And she just, that voice will play in my ear sometimes. That's you need that gig though. That you need a gig like that. It's your benchmark bomb gig. And it's a really nice thing to have when things aren't not going so well. You're like, well, there was that time and I made it through that one. Yeah.
Because there is also this thing of like, there's some times where it's like some shows just aren't as great, especially if you have like a solid show or you really like have a show where you're like, this is the fucking top for me.
Yeah.
And then anything else, you just kind of like, if it's not as good, you're like, oh, this is the worst show ever.
Yeah. You're chasing that dragon.
Yeah. And then you realize you're like, oh, no, the show may not have been that bad at all. It was just like not the rest.
And it's like the sensation in your body versus like the reality of what took place it can be so distantly different, which I'm sure you're aware of with a wife as a therapist. But yeah, you just find that because that's the fallacy I always find of recording. Comics are always weird about recording. They're like, oh man, there was that one gig off. I only had my camera up. Oh fuck, the clip would have gone so viral, man. It's the biggest fish you caught and didn't take a picture of. It's bullshit because if you could watch it back, then you could see that it wasn't quite as great.
Yeah.
And when it's a bad set, if you watch it back, you're like, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as my body is making it seem.
100%.
Like it just for example, like that horrible bomb story with getting heckled by Faye or the whole time. The other 18 people or whatever that were in the audience, like they bought merch after.
Faye was selling merch?
No, from me. Faye selling pierogies. Can you imagine an audience member sells more merch than you do at your show?
She's like, how many shirts did you sell? You're like, only 3. She's like, I sold all my pierogies.
Yeah. But that's a case of like the audience, this is probably their first show ever. They don't even know what a comedy show really can be or is.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah, it was great. That lady whooped the shit out of you. Like, that's not what I wanted to happen.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One of the best. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. I was actually having a good set, and then just some drunk guy and his friends started like chirping at me and just like being like, "Why are you fucking racist?" And I was like, "I'm not being racist. I'm just like telling jokes about being Mexican." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're like a black guy talking about Mexicans." And I was like, "Do you think I'm a black guy?" And then they were just like, it was like quiet, and then like I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm Mexican, you fucking idiot." And then like we just kept like. He just started arguing with me, and then like security had to come and kick them all out.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the set, we're walking out, and the cops were arresting him.
Whoa.
Yeah, they all like started like fighting and shit and trying to fight the security guard. And the cops had to come.
Yeah.
And then the cop was like, "Well, we can't book them, blah blah blah." And it's like their manager's calling, and we're like, "Their manager? Who's their manager?" Turns out it was the band that was going to perform the next night, and it was Franz Ferdinand.
such an LA story. You guys always have like,
Not
these
even.
crazy
That was in
stories.
Phoenix.
That's crazy.
It was just in
Phoenix of
Phoenix.
all places.
And it was at a show that was so it was in the lounge of like a music venue. So they were there the next night, and I guess their friend had just passed away.
Yeah.
And they were just there drinking. So they were all just like happy to be drinking at a place a comedy show was. And the guy just didn't like my set because they thought I was just talking about something else. And then, tried to fight me and like a bunch of people. And then it turned out to be the fucking lead singer, Franz Ferdinand.
That's so funny because I'm sure while he was getting kicked out in his head, Take Me Out was playing. And he's like throwing fists.
Once we heard it was him, we all started singing Take Me Out on the patio. It was fucking hilarious. Comics are the worst, dude. Phoenix was one of my favorite scenes. You ever been there?
No, not yet.
Dude, it's not as, I think the scene's changed now, but when I went there, it was like Turner, Chappelle Lacey, Jesse Jetski Johnson. This is when they were all just like comics that hadn't moved to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a fun time. There was this bar that they had called Gracie's. It was like a hipster indie bar. People were doing coke in the bathroom, just real good food. The guy would sell you sweatshirts of the bar out of plastic bags. It was just absolutely ridiculous. But they would do this game. It was a show called Street Sets, and it was only at 2:15, which is right after the bars would let out, and it was the bar Gracie's was in front of like a 5-6 lane like highway, but it's not like a big freeway. It was just like a big road, right? So you would have just an audience that was out in front of this bar. So what we'd all do is we'd all sit in the middle of the street in traffic, and we'd all do stand up until a car came. And we would have to either stay there and try to dodge the car, or we would have to just give up the set and introduce the next comic. So we would all be shit-faced in the middle of the road doing stand-up, telling our jokes while cars were coming and going.
That's wild.
It was extremely irresponsible. A few of us almost got hit, and I remember I took a video and posted it on Instagram. My mom saw it, and she called me and immediately yelled at me and was like, I never want you doing that again. I never want you to go to fucking Phoenix. What the fuck's wrong with you? And then I remember I called Michael Turner, and I was like, yeah, my mom yelled at me. And he was like, yeah, my mom yelled at me too. Yeah, we probably shouldn't be doing this. It was so fucking stupid, dude.
You're like, wow, that the light they're giving me is getting slowly brighter and brighter and brighter.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad no one died, but it was just, yeah, we were just getting shit-faced and being dumb. It was so fun.
That's great.
Yeah, just dumb. I don't know. That's why I like doing stand-up, because it's like, obviously the highs are the highs, but there's something fun about just making memories like that. Like just doing dumb shit with fun comics in different cities. It's just like, that's the shit like you remember for the rest of your fucking lives.
Yeah, and you get to go to places that you would never go as a tourist.
Oh, absolutely.
Ever. Last place you'd think to go.
100%.
The people, you're there doing the gig before you go on stage, somebody comes up to you and goes, you know, the closest police station's 2 hours away.
You're like, what the fuck?
You're like, why did I agree to do this gig? Anything goes wrong, 2 hours. Like 2 hours to hide.
Dude, that's so fucking fun. I remember, I don't know why this brought this memory up, but it's interesting the people you meet in stand-up, because you never know who anyone is and you never know what like anyone's going through. I remember there was like an open micer I was always just very nice to at the store, always cordial. And then for years, he would always come up, I'd give him spots. It was just kind of nice. He was kind of funny, like just a chill dude, always kind of kept quiet. Then I remember my birthday came, and everyone was coming. We were all smoking, saying hi and stuff. And then he like came in the back, and I just remember being shit faced and just high. And he came up. He's like, "Hey man, I just want to say happy birthday, and that just want to let you know, like you've always been very nice to me. You mean a lot to me." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And then he like dapped me up and he pulled me in close and he goes, "If anyone ever fucks with you, I just want to let you know I have a knife and I will stab them."
I love that.
I was like, "All right," I was like, "That's fucking crazy."
That makes me think of that really old Dane Cook joke, the Obby joke. You
Oh
remember that
yeah.
one? You know, like the give candy to Obby, because that way when he comes with the shotgun, he's going through every cubicle. Thanks for the candy.
Yeah.
And then moves on.
Oh my god! I mean, that's fucking. As much as we joke about it, that's what happened. That I'm sure that isn't that what happened in Columbine?
I'm not sure.
It was one of the guys was coming, and then someone was like walking towards the school, and they told him not to go to the school because it was like some kind of friend of his.
Shit, I don't remember.
I could be making that up, anyways, but it sounds like a great plot point. All right, let's get into these questions. What is one meaningful piece of advice you've gotten in your life, and how has it been meaningful?
A meaningful piece of advice. I think, this is just top of mind because my wife just riffed it the other day, and I was like, I'm going to mantra this for the next little bit. She just said, the process is as important as the performance. And I've just been riding that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ross has a thing written on his wall at his place that I always remember whenever I see it, and it says, enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm.
That's something he would always tell me, and that's something I try to tell people, because it is like, yeah, man, it's a process. It's long, it's arduous, it's scary, all that stuff, but it's like, yeah, you got to enjoy it. Otherwise, you will drive yourself crazy.
Especially, I mean, if any pursuit of any type of art, I think it's so easy to kind of feel like you're going insane a little bit. And you're crafting and trying to get so good at all the little details and fine pieces of what it is that is your craft. But if you don't enjoy your life that is built around that craft, then it's just a shitty product at the end. So you're like, I have to do these things. I'm very work oriented. I don't know. My work ethic is very strong. It's not something I've had trouble with on my front, but that's why, it's so helpful to have my wife. She forces me to do things that are outside of my routines and stuff, and bring in different things into my life, different experiences, so that I actually have a broader dynamic of experience to pull from. You know?
That's great.
Yeah.
Man, having a wife is so nice.
Honestly the best. Really underrated. In pop culture, I would say very
my God.
underrated. Having wife, awesome. Having partner, having a second brain that has your best intentions top of mind. Come on.
Someone
We're talking about double the processing power, okay? For my logical bros out there, double the processing power?
But yeah, it is. It's also like, I mean, I've had a wife that's challenged me, has like made me a better person, has like believed in me more than I have at sometimes. And it's like, yeah, those people are so fucking important. And it is also so funny when you see people, especially in pop culture, that are like, nah, man, being single is the best. Like, ugh, imagine getting married is fucking giving my time up to some lady, blah, blah. Like now, whenever I see people like that, I'm like, dog, who hurt you? Like, what happened, dog? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
I remember being at a show. It was with Pauly Shore, and I do a bunch of stuff about my wife. I was talking about being married, and some guy just in the back goes, "Don't do it!" And I was just like, guys, I just want to let you know that's what the sound of someone who's gonna die alone sounds like. I was like, any guy that's like that, and he's like, I swear to God, you talk to that guy, and I guarantee you'll realize, oh, it's 100% you and not whoever you're dating.
Yeah, he's already on the other end of the divorce.
Yeah.
There's no like, he's lost all hope.
100%. I was
Poor
like,
guy.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, you got to work on yourself, buddy. And everyone was like losing it. And I was like, all right, back to my marriage jokes.
Yeah, it's even the way you look at things, the way that pop culture will try to market to younger men. Of course, you know, I remember being the younger man and being like, whoa, but being like in the relationship as long as I have and through the relationship, like you look at somebody like Dan Bilzerian, for an example. He's on this yacht with like 12s all around him, and you know, I think the younger men are obviously like ogling like, oh, he's smashing, like, oh, that's fucking crazy. But like I'm looking at that like, man, he's got to do like conversation, he's got to have their conversation around him for the next like 2 days or however long they're doing this yacht trip for. And it's like, yo, where the boys at, man?
Yeah.
We're the homies. Like all he's doing, like, yeah, because like, and my nail chipped, and I thought like, well, what the fuck? I just got $60 2 hours. Like I don't have time to like go get my nail done again. And he's just like sitting there on this yacht.
You ever been around young, hot, like 20 somethings?
No.
I can't even. It fucking hurts me. Like I remember I was at the bar at the store, and someone introduced me to someone. They were just talking, and then we were just like shooting the shit. And then I was like, "How old are you?" She's like, "Oh, I'm 22." And I was like, "Ugh," like just fucking ugh. It like hurt me. Not that she was like young, but just like I don't know, man. I was just kind of like I just couldn't take anything they said seriously.
That's the old married man creeping in.
And it's not even like, and it's, I wish, I wish, like I see old creepy married men. I'm just like I just feel like an old man, you know? Or I'm just like, God, fucking go to school, study. You know what I mean? Like fucking.
She's like, well, I mean, Trig just invited me to his concert.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, man, fuck Drake. Do Trig. You know what I mean?
you know, he finds out that she's 22 and then she gets uninvited.
Who is it when Leonardo's girl turned 26, 25? He immediately broke over there. That shit made me laugh so hard. I used to have a Leo joke. I don't do it anymore. That makes me laugh.
There
all
should
right.
be a name for that kind of guy, though. Like, you know, it's not like we've all agreed society where like it's not pedophile, but the kind of guy that even into his 60s is dating a 20 to 24-year-old. There should be a name for that kind of guy.
You think the age
Something a little bit like shameful.
I think the ages of consent should always move up as you get older. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where it's, and I'm not saying it should get younger. I'm saying it should get older. You know what I mean? Like if you're 50, you shouldn't be able to fuck anyone younger than 35.
I don't know. I think
Everyone pushes back immediately.
yeah, I don't know. I think like once if you're
20, 25? 20, 25?
Oh yeah. Okay. 25.
okay.
Fully formed brain.
Yeah. That's big. Fully formed brain, especially I would say even like at 30, you could date anything up because like not only are you fully formed brain, but you've got 5 years of trying to get your life together. So if you're literally 31 and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go hook up with this 82-year-old man and make sure my life's set for the next like ever. I'm like, you have a fully formed brain. You did 5 years of the adult hustle, and now you're grabbing your bag.
Yeah.
Go get your bag.
You're like, listen, I'm 30. I did 5 years of trying to be an adult. I will fuck an 85-year-old man right now. I'll just fuck an old guy. Yeah, imagine being like Imagine being like, you're starting to get older, then you're just like, man, I got one more year till I can fuck these fucking anyone over 30. Woo. I don't know about you, but this air has only made my throat drier in fucking Texas.
It'll do that.
Oh, it's rough. All right, last question, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, what do you think the current state of your home says about you?
It says that I have not been there in a while. It's probably very organized. My wife probably has all the things put in the places
That she wants them?
There are probably no smudges on the counter, not like a single smudge or crumb on the counter.
Are you like me? Because we were just talking about it last episode with my wife, but like when I'm gone, she makes the place kind of how she would have it, right? It almost exists like if I wasn't there. But when I show up, it's just fucking, I just very much put my stank on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more so it just takes me longer to notice the mess I've made. I'll clean it. I'll notice it and be like, yeah, for my own mental health, I should probably not have the home like this. But the thing is, while I'm creating that mess, she'll find it and be like, well, why didn't you? And I'm like, well, I'm not done making the mess. So it's like I want, when I clean, I want the satisfaction of a full mess
to clean.
now gone.
Okay.
Now we've gone. It's like mowing your lawn when it's only like that, like just a shave of an like. No. I want a lawn that's very long, and then you cut it, and then it's like, well, I just cut the lawn.
Yeah, you can see the change.
That's how I feel in the home. I want a messy room, and then I go spend like an hour, and I just boom, and then now it's all bing bang.
Yeah, it hasn't fully achieved full mess. It's like,
yeah. She wants me to clean up halfway mess. And I'll do it because I'm a good husband.
Yeah.
But it's just,
I'll do it, but that's only because she asked.
Yeah. That's why she's got to ask, because my brain hasn't had that circuit response yet.
Oh,
where your brain
absolutely.
jumps in and goes, you should probably clean that. She's ahead of my brain on that.
Yeah.
And that's not no slight against her. It's just every couple has sometimes you don't have exactly aligned levels of cleanliness required.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so you need to, for the other person.
Yeah. No, I've definitely ruined her sense of cleanliness. Where, she's just like, I'm not going to fight it anymore. And I'm like, that makes me sad. I've ruined us.
But you won.
I won.
You saw her taking a shirt and just dropping it on the floor. You're like, that's my woman.
Yeah, I win.
I've created it.
See how fun it is? Now kick your socks across the room. All right. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
You can find all my stuff at @andpacker on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, anywhere. And then if you want to check out my talk show called Man News Live, unlike any talk show, it's freshly out on my YouTube as well.
Hell yeah, dude. This was a very awesome conversation. I love the way you think about comedy. It's very, very cool to hear you break it down and be like, oh, you really fucking, you know your shit. I like this. Yeah, thank you so much for coming and doing this podcast. Thank you, Kalia Extracts. Thank you, Puffco. Thank you, Comedy Frequency. Feels good to be back in Austin. I'll see you guys later. Woo!